In a world that feels uncertain, where change seems to sweep away the familiar every day, there remains one power that can never be shaken: your belief in yourself, guided by a higher law. When you cultivate this inner certainty, no storm can uproot you, no fear can hold you, and no shifting circumstance can dictate your destiny. Today, let's awaken the unshakable faith within you. The world is ever-changing, moving in cycles of rise and fall, creation and dissolution. Nations shift, economies fluctuate, seasons turn, and lives transform in unexpected ways. What appears secure today may vanish tomorrow, and what seems uncertain may become the foundation of great blessing. Change is the constant rhythm of the outer world, and to anchor one's peace in shifting sands is to invite restlessness. Yet there is a place of stability that no storm can touch, a fortress that remains steadfast through every upheaval. It is the soul that trusts in divine order, unshaken by appearances and unmoved by the clamor of circumstance. When the winds of uncertainty blow, many cling to outer securities. They hold fast to possessions, titles, or familiar routines. But the outer world is like the sea, restless and unsteady. To build one's belief on it is to dwell in fear, for the tide may change without warning. Yet within each soul is a deeper ground, a place where eternal truth resides. The one who anchors faith there stands firm, for divine order is not swayed by appearances. It is the invisible law that governs all things with perfect timing and harmony. Trust in this law is not passive acceptance, but radiant strength. It is the knowing that every event, no matter how it seems, unfolds in right sequence. What may appear as delay is only preparation. What seems as loss is often a hidden gain. To trust in divine order is to rest in assurance that nothing is truly against you and that the universe bends in your favor when you align with its rhythm. In this trust, the soul is calm though the world shakes, steady though the outer forms dissolve. Fear arises when the mind forgets divine order and begins to imagine separation. Fear whispers that the world is chaotic, that you must fight, grasp, and control to survive. But fear is only inverted faith, faith placed in shadows instead of light. The soul that remembers truth does not yield to fear, for it knows that beneath all appearances lies a pattern of perfection. To the unshaken soul, even storms are but servants of divine will, clearing the path for new beginnings. Every trial becomes a test of inner anchoring. When confronted with sudden change, a closed door, a broken plan, or a shifting circumstance, the choice arises: to tremble with the world or to stand firm in trust. The one who chooses trust discovers a hidden strength that cannot be measured. The unshaken soul does not collapse under pressure, but rises, declaring inwardly, "I stand on divine ground. I am held by eternal order." This trust transforms the way life is seen. Instead of labeling events as good or bad, the unshaken soul perceives them as steps within a greater unfolding. Each step, whether joyous or challenging, serves the higher design. When a door closes, another is opening. When a delay occurs, it is only the hand of time aligning things for the highest good. The shifting world cannot disturb the one who sees beyond appearances, for such a soul knows that divine order never fails. To cultivate this faith is to practice remembrance. Daily, the mind may be tempted to look only at appearances, to see lack, limitation, or uncertainty. But the soul whispers a deeper truth. All is in order. Nothing is lost. Every path is guided. By affirming this truth, the inner ground is strengthened and belief becomes unshakable. Spoken words of faith are like pillars, building a fortress where the storms of the world cannot intrude. In divine order, there are no accidents, only unfoldings. There are no delays, only perfect timings. There are no losses, only exchanges for something higher. The one who trusts in this law no longer fears change, for change becomes the very proof of life's progression. Just as the river flows and the seasons turn, so too do circumstances move according to a higher plan. To resist this flow is to suffer, but to trust it is to find peace. The unshaken soul walks through the world as a pillar of calm. Others may panic at uncertainty, but this soul radiates assurance. Others may despair at endings, but this soul sees beginnings concealed within them. To such a soul, the world is not a place of chaos, but a stage of divine expression. Each scene changes, but the law behind it remains the same. This realization brings serenity, courage, and a quiet joy that nothing outward can destroy. True self-belief is not arrogance, it is alignment with the infinite source within. The world often confuses confidence with pride, strength with vanity, and certainty with ego. Yet real self-belief does not arise from comparison, nor does it demand superiority over another. It is not built upon applause or recognition from the outer world. Instead, it flows from the quiet knowing that you are one with the infinite, and that divine wisdom, power, and love move through you as naturally as breath. Arrogance proclaims, "I alone am the source of my power." But true self-belief whispers, "I and the infinite are one, and through that union all things are possible." Arrogance wavers when it is not praised, but genuine faith in the self stands firm, for it is not rooted in opinion, but in eternal truth. When you align with this inner source, you no longer seek validation in the fleeting voices of others. You rest in the assurance that your worth is eternal, untouched by circumstance, and limitless in expression. This kind of belief cannot be shaken because it does not depend on the world. The world may rise and fall, doors may open or close, people may approve or disapprove, but the soul that knows its source does not falter. For within you is a current of divine power, steady and inexhaustible. To recognize this current is to realize that you are never lacking, never abandoned, never unworthy. Every gift, every talent, every solution already exists in seed form within you, waiting to be expressed through your alignment with the infinite. To cultivate this self-belief, one must release the illusion of separation. Many believe they are cut off, small, or insufficient. They measure themselves against others and feel diminished, or they inflate themselves to mask insecurity. But both extremes are illusions. True strength arises when you remember that you are not separate from the source of all creation. As the sun cannot be separated from its rays, neither can you be separated from divine supply. When you walk in this awareness, you no longer feel the need to compete or prove, for you recognize that your light shines by divine right. This inner alignment manifests as calm assurance. You move through life not with arrogance, but with grace. You speak not to dominate, but to uplift. You act not from fear of failure, but from certainty of guidance. The infinite does not waver, and when you align with it, neither does your belief in yourself. Even when obstacles arise, you affirm inwardly, "I am guided by the source within. I am capable. I am worthy. I am supported." These words, spoken with faith, are not empty affirmations but declarations of eternal truth. Arrogance builds walls, but true self-belief opens doors. It does not isolate, it connects. It sees the same infinite flowing through every being and therefore respects all. When you walk in alignment with the source, you recognize that your success never diminishes another's, and another's success never threatens yours. There is no rivalry in divine abundance, only endless expression. This realization frees the mind from jealousy, comparison, and the restless need to prove. The fruits of real self-belief are peace, clarity, and courage. With peace you do not rush, for you know the infinite arranges all things rightly. With clarity you discern your path without confusion, for divine wisdom lights your way. With courage you step forward boldly, for you know you are never alone. These are not the fruits of arrogance, but of alignment. Arrogance fears loss, but true self-belief rests in endless supply. Arrogance needs to shout, but true self-belief speaks with quiet authority, and the world listens. Each time you doubt yourself, pause and remember, doubt is only forgetting the source within. Each time you feel small, recall that you are a vessel of infinite power. Each time you are tempted to compare, remind yourself that no two rays of light compete, for each shines its own brilliance. To live in this remembrance is to live unshaken, rooted, and radiant. Fear is faith turned upside down, a belief in the power of what can harm rather than in the power of what can bless. Fear is not a separate force. It is simply the same energy of faith misdirected. Faith is trust in divine order, the invisible assurance that life unfolds in perfection. When the mind forgets this truth, it bends faith toward shadows, imagining dangers, losses, and disappointments. In that moment, fear takes shape. Yet the instant one reclaims trust in divine guidance, fear dissolves, for it has no substance of its own. Every fearful thought is a picture of faith gone astray. The heart that worries about tomorrow is placing faith in failure. The mind that trembles at lack is placing faith in limitation. The soul that dreads rejection is placing faith in the illusion of unworthiness. And yet, the very power that sustains those shadows is the same power that, when rightly directed, creates miracles. The task is not to fight fear, but to turn faith upright again, to take it out of darkness and place it back into the light. Confidence in divine guidance is the antidote. To affirm, I am guided at every step, I walk in safety, I walk in abundance, I walk in peace, is to reclaim the energy of fear and restore it to its true form. Every time you speak words of trust, you pull faith out of the shadows and anchor it in truth. Fear cannot remain where faith is spoken. It vanishes like fog under the rising sun. Imagine a child walking beside a loving parent. The child may fear crossing a crowded street, but once the parent takes their hand, fear melts away. So too is the soul when it remembers divine guidance. The Infinite walks with you, directs your steps, and goes before you to prepare the way. The moment you align with this truth, confidence rises and fear loses its hold. To live in this awareness is to walk with serenity, even when the path seems uncertain. Fear often disguises itself as caution, as self-protection, as reasonable doubt. But beneath its mask lies a simple lie that you are separate from divine help, that you are alone in navigating life. When you see through this illusion, fear is revealed as powerless. You are never alone, never abandoned, never without direction. Divine guidance is constant, a stream of wisdom flowing from within, whispering answers, arranging circumstances, opening doors. To trust this stream is to rise above fear, to place your faith where it belongs. Confidence in divine guidance does not mean forcing outcomes, it means allowing them. It means walking in the assurance that what is yours cannot be taken, and what is not meant for you will fall away. Fear clings, but faith releases. Fear grasps at control, but faith surrenders. When you surrender to divine order, you are not weakened, you are strengthened. For surrender does not mean giving up, it means giving over, placing your path into hands far wiser than your own. Fear drains energy, but confidence restores it. Fear clouds vision, but guidance clears it. Fear isolates, but faith connects. Each time you catch fear whispering in your ear, pause and reverse it. If fear says, "You will fail," respond with, "I am guided to success." If fear says, "You are not enough," answer, "I am complete in the source within." If fear says, "You will lose," affirm, "I walk in divine abundance, and nothing good can be withheld from me." These words do not merely comfort, they transform. They redirect faith from the shadows to the light. The more you practice this reversal, the less hold fear will have. Eventually, you will recognize fear for what it truly is, a signal that your faith has been misplaced. At that moment, you can consciously shift it, affirming truth, declaring guidance, and stepping forward with calm assurance. In this way, fear becomes not an enemy but a teacher, reminding you to realign, to return your faith to its rightful place, to replace every shadow with trust in the infinite. Circumstances shift, yet the inner word of truth never wavers. The outer world is a theater of constant movement. Opportunities appear and vanish, doors open and close, people come and go, and conditions rise and fall like waves upon the sea. To rely on circumstances for peace is to place your trust in sand that shifts beneath your feet. But beneath all this movement lies the inner word of truth, steady, eternal, and unchanging. This word is not shaken by appearances, for it springs from the infinite within, and the infinite does not change. When the world seems to turn against you, when plans dissolve or relationships alter, the temptation is to believe that your life is at the mercy of chance. But circumstances are only mirrors, temporary reflections of thought and belief. They come and go, but they do not define the eternal reality of who you are. Within you is a word spoken before time began, the truth of your being, the divine pattern of abundance, strength, and peace. This truth never falters, no matter how the outer forms may appear. Many confuse truth with appearances, believing that what they see and feel in the moment is the final reality. But the inner word is deeper than sight, deeper than feeling, deeper than circumstance. It is the eternal affirmation that you are guided, provided for, and sustained. Though the winds of change may roar, the inner word remains still, whispering, "You are safe, you are whole, you are victorious." Circumstances are like clouds drifting across the sky. They may obscure the sun for a time, but the sun itself has not dimmed. So it is with truth. The word within you cannot be diminished by the passing shadows of life. Though lack may appear, the truth of abundance remains. Though illness may rise, the truth of vitality endures. Though rejection may sting, the truth of your worth is unaltered. The unchanging word within you waits for your recognition. For the moment you affirm it in faith, it brings outer conditions into harmony. The shifting of circumstances is not something to fear, but something to recognize as part of the greater unfolding. Change reveals to you where you have placed your trust. If you are shaken by every shift, it is a sign that you have built upon the outer instead of the inner. But when you build upon the inner word, you remain steady. You may observe the changes, you may walk through them, but you do not lose your ground. You know that circumstances are temporary actors upon the stage, while truth is the eternal script that underlies every scene. Every great soul has faced shifting conditions, times of loss, times of uncertainty, times when the outer world seemed to collapse. Yet those who anchored themselves in the inner word stood firm, and in time, the outer world reshaped itself to match the unshaken truth they held. For what is within eventually molds what is without. If the inner word remains unwavering, the outer world must eventually align. To live by the inner word is to speak it daily, especially when appearances seem contrary. When lack appears, you affirm abundance. When fear rises, you affirm peace. When doors close, you affirm guidance. These words, spoken with faith, are not mere repetitions, but calls to the eternal truth already planted within you. Each affirmation strengthens your anchor, and as your anchor holds, the tides of circumstance lose their power to unseat you. The inner word is not created by you, but discovered. It is already written in the depths of your soul, inscribed by the infinite. You need only align with it, remember it, and declare it. The world will shift 1,000 times, but the truth within you does not bend. It is the still voice that says, "Be not moved by appearances. Trust the eternal. Stand in faith." Every challenge is an invitation to prove the power of your inner faith. Life does not place obstacles before you to defeat you, but to reveal the strength that lies within. Each difficulty is a doorway through which you may walk into greater certainty, deeper trust, and higher expression of truth. Challenges are not punishments, but opportunities, opportunities to demonstrate that the word of faith within you is stronger than any outer appearance. When all seems smooth and easy, faith remains dormant, resting quietly. But when a storm rises, the soul has a chance to call forth its hidden power. The trial that appears to threaten you is the very stage on which your inner assurance can shine. Just as a seed must press through the dark soil before it reaches the light, so too must you sometimes press through conditions that appear limiting. Yet, it is in this pressing through that your inner strength is revealed. The world may call challenges misfortunes, but the awakened soul sees them as proving grounds. Each challenge asks you, will you believe the appearance or will you believe the truth? When the appearance speaks of lack, will you cling to abundance? When the appearance whispers of fear, will you declare peace? When the appearance shows delay, will you affirm perfect timing? In each moment, you are invited to choose, to place your faith not in what you see, but in the unseen law that governs all things in harmony. Consider the fire that tempers steel. Without the flame, the metal remains soft, unable to hold its shape, but through the fire, it becomes strong, enduring, unbreakable. Challenges are like this fire. They do not come to destroy, but to refine. They burn away doubt, they strip illusions, and they call forth the unshakable word of truth. The soul that embraces challenge as an ally rises stronger, more certain, more radiant in its faith. When you meet a challenge, the natural mind may cry out, "This is too much. I cannot bear it." But the inner word declares, "You are greater than this. The power within you is infinite." To listen to the inner word is to remember that no challenge comes without the provision of strength to overcome it. You are never placed in a position without the tools to succeed. The very presence of the challenge proves that within you lies the capacity to rise above it. Challenges also teach surrender. They remind you that the outcome is not shaped by struggle, but by alignment. When the mind tries to control, fear multiplies. But when the heart surrenders to divine guidance, a higher way opens. Often, what seems like an impossible wall reveals itself as a passage once you affirm, "I am divinely guided." The way is made clear. This surrender is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength, for it places your faith in the power that never fails. Each time you move through a challenge with faith, your foundation grows deeper. What once would have shaken you no longer moves you. What once appeared overwhelming now becomes a stepping stone. Faith strengthens through use, and challenges provide the perfect ground for its practice. The more you prove your faith, the more natural it becomes to stand firm, until eventually peace remains even in the face of storms. So the challenge is not your enemy, but your teacher. It is the whisper that says, "Rise higher, believe deeper, trust more fully." And as you accept the invitation, you discover that your inner faith is not fragile but powerful, not limited but infinite, not wavering but eternal. Words spoken with conviction create the foundation of self-belief. Each word carries power, for words are not mere sounds drifting into the air, they are seeds planted in the soil of the subconscious. When spoken with faith, they take root, grow, and shape the very structure of life. The tongue is like a pen, and with it we inscribe the patterns of our destiny. Conviction gives these words weight, strength, and life. Without conviction, words pass quickly. With conviction, they become commands that the universe answers. Many souls weaken themselves by careless speech. They declare limitation, failure, and fear without realizing that each phrase sows a seed. Saying, "I cannot," plants powerlessness. Saying, "I always fail," builds a wall of defeat. Saying, "Nothing ever works for me," lays a foundation of despair. These words, spoken often enough, become beliefs, and beliefs shape experience. Yet the opposite is also true. Affirmations of strength, abundance, and guidance, spoken with conviction, create an inner fortress of self-belief that no circumstance can shake. Conviction is the key. To speak words without feeling is like scattering seeds on stone. They do not take root, but when words are spoken with certainty, with emotion, with unshakable assurance, they imprint themselves upon the inner mind. The subconscious does not question, it accepts. What you declare with conviction becomes the blueprint it follows. This is why it is not enough to merely repeat phrases. One must breathe life into them, speak them as truth, and affirm them until the inner ear recognizes them as reality. Self-belief is built word by word. Just as a house is laid brick by brick, the inner foundation of faith is laid affirmation by affirmation. I am guided. I am capable. I am worthy. I am strong. Each of these words, spoken with conviction, adds to the structure. Over time, they form a fortress where doubt cannot enter. The one who continually speaks with power creates a rhythm of inner certainty, and that certainty expresses itself in action, in presence, and in outcome. The outer world reflects the inner word. When you declare, "I walk in confidence," opportunities appear to match your declaration. When you say, "I attract success," the current of life begins to flow in that direction. When you affirm, "I am divinely guided," synchronicities arise to prove your guidance. The spoken word is not idle, it is creative force. Each phrase builds the path before you. The more conviction you hold, the more firmly that path becomes established. Conviction does not require shouting, but it does require belief. Even a quiet word, whispered in certainty, carries greater power than a loud word spoken in doubt. The heart must align with the tongue. When your words flow from inner knowing rather than from mere repetition, they carry the vibration of truth, and truth always manifests. To practice this alignment, pause before you speak. Feel the truth of your words. Let conviction rise. Then declare, not as one asking, but as one commanding. It is also vital to guard against words of self-sabotage. Each careless phrase spoken in jest or frustration leaves its trace. Saying, "I am unlucky," or "I always get things wrong," strengthens doubt. But the moment you catch such words, you may replace them with their opposites. Speak instead, "I am favored," "I learn quickly," "I always find my way." With every reversal, you take back power, turning the energy of words toward the foundation of belief rather than destruction. Words are builders, and you are the architect. What you speak today becomes the structure of tomorrow. Speak weakness, and you build a fragile house. Speak strength, and you build a fortress. Speak fear, and you invite shadows. Speak faith, and you call forth light. When words are spoken with conviction, they do not merely pass, they create. And as they create, they establish within you an unshakable self-belief, a certainty that grows stronger with every declaration made in truth. Doubt is an illusion. Truth stands firm like a mountain amidst storms. Doubt whispers with great intensity, yet it has no substance. It is like a shadow on the wall, dark in appearance but powerless when examined. Doubt grows from appearances, from shifting circumstances, from the mind's inability to see beyond the immediate. It takes hold when one forgets the eternal law that governs all things with precision and love. But truth, unlike doubt, does not shift. Truth is eternal. Truth is the mountain that does not move, even when the winds howl and the rains fall. When storms come, the mountain does not tremble. It does not bow to the wind, nor does it fear the rain. It remains steady, unmoved, and sure. So it is with truth. Though doubt may rage within the mind, though outer appearances may scream of defeat, truth stands quietly, waiting to be recognized. It does not demand attention, it simply exists, strong and enduring. The soul that remembers this finds peace even in the midst of turmoil. Doubt is born of forgetfulness. It forgets divine order, it forgets guidance, it forgets the infinite supply that sustains every living being. Doubt convinces the mind that it is alone, unsupported, and vulnerable. Yet these are illusions, for the soul has never been abandoned. Guidance is always present, supply is always flowing, and love is always near. When one turns attention from doubt back to truth, the illusions dissolve as quickly as darkness vanishes before light. Truth is not shaken by opinion. It does not bend to circumstance. It does not depend upon appearances. Truth is eternal law, the order that underlies all creation. When you align with truth, you stand upon the mountain. Though storms may rise, you are not moved. Though appearances may frighten others, you remain steady, for you know that illusions come and go, but truth remains unchanged. The challenge of life is not the presence of storms, but the choice of where to place your attention. If you look to the storm, you will see only chaos. If you look to the mountain, you will see strength. Doubt is fed by fixation on appearances. Truth is revealed by trust in the eternal. Each time you are tempted to believe in lack, limitation, or failure, remember, these are shadows, not substance. The substance is abundance, freedom, and victory, and these do not waver. The mountain of truth resides within you. It is the inner word, steady and unbroken. When the mind trembles, the heart knows. When the eyes see loss, the spirit declares supply. When the world says impossible, the inner truth whispers possible. To stand upon this mountain is to choose faith over fear, certainty over confusion, clarity over illusion. And each time you choose truth, doubt loses its grip, dissolving into nothingness, for that is all it ever was. Even the strongest illusions cannot overturn truth. A storm may cover the mountain in clouds, but the mountain still stands. So too may circumstances seem overwhelming, but beneath them, truth remains. You are guided, you are supported, you are complete. This is the reality, and no appearance can undo it. Doubt may shout, but truth does not need to raise its voice. It is quiet, unyielding, eternal, and sure. To live in awareness of truth is to recognize doubt without bowing to it. You may hear its whispers, but you need not obey them. You may feel its tremors, but you need not follow them. Instead, you turn to the mountain within and affirm, I stand in truth. I cannot be moved. I walk in divine order. These words are not attempts to create truth, but acknowledgments of what already is. And as you affirm, the storm begins to calm, not because it is gone, but because you are no longer swayed. Success flows when one walks by faith, not by sight. The eyes see only the immediate, the visible, the temporary. They see limitation, obstacles, and conditions as they appear in the moment. But sight is narrow. It measures by appearances, and appearances shift like waves upon the sea. Faith, however, sees beyond. Faith gazes into the invisible, trusting the eternal law that governs life with precision and harmony. To walk by faith is to walk in alignment with this law, and in that alignment, success flows naturally. Those who live by sight are easily swayed. They believe abundance only when it is visible in their accounts, health only when the body feels strong, opportunities only when doors are already open. When circumstances shift, their confidence falters. But those who walk by faith hold fast, even when appearances contradict their desires. They declare abundance in the face of lack, health in the presence of weakness, and opportunity in the midst of closed doors. This steadfastness draws unseen forces into motion, and soon the outer world rearranges itself to match the inner conviction. Faith does not wait for proof, it creates proof. Sight says, I will believe when I see it. Faith says, I believe, and therefore it will appear. This is the secret of success, for what you hold firmly in faith must eventually take form. Every invention, every achievement, every great work began first as unseen faith in the heart of its creator. They walked forward when others saw nothing, and because they trusted the visible came into being. Success is not a matter of striving, but of flowing. Faith aligns you with that flow. When you believe in divine guidance, you no longer force outcomes or strain against obstacles. You step forward, trusting that the way will unfold. And it does. The current of divine order carries you, arranging people, events, and opportunities in perfect timing. What appears as coincidence is simply the manifestation of faith at work. Walking by sight alone leads to fear, for sight often sees only obstacles. But faith turns every obstacle into a stepping stone. Where sight sees lack, faith sees supply waiting to be revealed. Where sight sees delay, faith sees preparation. Where sight sees endings, faith sees beginnings. This shift in perception transforms the journey, for when you walk by faith, you no longer resist the flow of life. You cooperate with it, and success flows toward you as naturally as rivers run to the sea. Faith also brings calm. Success born of sight alone is restless, always worried that it might slip away. It depends on fragile conditions. But success born of faith is secure because it rests not on changing circumstances, but on eternal law. Even when appearances falter, faith holds steady, knowing that the unseen is arranging itself. This inner calm itself is a magnet for success, for opportunities are drawn to a spirit that radiates certainty. To cultivate this walk of faith, words must align with belief. Speak not of doubt or defeat, but of guidance, strength, and abundance. Declare, I walk by faith, not by sight. My steps are guided. Success flows to me in perfect order. Each declaration strengthens the inner foundation until it becomes second nature to trust the unseen more than the seen. And when this trust is consistent, success ceases to be a struggle. It becomes a flow, inevitable and sure. Faith is not blindness, it is deeper sight. It sees what the physical eye cannot. It knows that every need has already been supplied, every answer already exists, every step is already prepared. To walk by faith is to walk in alignment with this reality, and in that alignment, life opens its treasures. Success ceases to be distant. It becomes the natural outpouring of a soul that trusts the invisible more than appearances. Self-belief grows when one surrenders worry and chooses divine assurance. Worry is the weight that bends the spirit, clouding clarity and weakening resolve. It whispers of doubt, magnifies obstacles, and paints illusions of failure. Yet worry is powerless, for it has no creative force of its own. It drains energy but produces nothing. The moment one lays down worry and embraces divine assurance, strength rises and self-belief takes root like a tree planted by rivers of living water. Worry looks to the future with fear, imagining all that might go wrong. Divine assurance looks to eternity, knowing that order and provision are already established. Worry clings to appearances and uncertain outcomes, while assurance rests in the unshakable truth that all is unfolding as it should. When one shifts from worry to assurance, the mind grows quiet, the heart steadies, and self-belief begins to blossom. For in the absence of worry, the soul can hear the voice of guidance clearly. Self-belief does not grow in soil filled with fear. It grows in trust, in the certainty that one is not alone, that unseen forces of good are always at work. To believe in oneself is to believe in the divine spark within, the very essence of assurance. Worry denies this spark, but assurance affirms it. Each time you surrender worry, you water the roots of self-belief. Each time you choose assurance, you strengthen the trunk until confidence becomes natural, unforced, and unshaken. Consider how worry weakens even the strongest intention. A person may begin with faith, but if worry enters, it chips away at that faith, replacing certainty with hesitation, and hesitation diminishes power. Yet when assurance replaces worry, the opposite occurs. Certainty multiplies, power expands, and self-belief grows firm. This is why surrender is not defeat, but the highest form of victory. To surrender worry is to step out of the prison of illusion and into the freedom of truth. Divine assurance is not wishful thinking, it is alignment with eternal law. It rests in the knowledge that life is governed by perfect order. What is needed will appear, the way forward will open, and guidance will come at the right time. Worry tries to force, manipulate, or control outcomes. Assurance allows outcomes to unfold with grace. This graceful unfolding builds a deep trust within, teaching the soul again and again that it can rely on the unseen more than appearances. And from this trust springs self-belief that cannot be shaken. When one is assured, actions flow with confidence, words carry power, the mind is clear and the heart is steady. There is no need for struggle, for assurance carries a quiet strength. Self-belief is born not of striving but of surrender. It comes when one lays down the false burden of fear and takes up the lightness of trust. This exchange is the secret to unshakable confidence, not holding tighter but releasing, not fearing the unknown but resting in divine certainty. The person who chooses assurance walks differently. They are not hurried, nor anxious, nor desperate. They move with quiet authority, knowing that every step is guided. They speak with conviction, not from arrogance, but from alignment with truth. Their self-belief radiates, not as pride, but as faith in the divine power that flows through them. And others feel this assurance, for it inspires calm and confidence in all who encounter it. Self-belief is the natural fruit of divine assurance. As the heart releases worry, the soil of the soul is cleared. In that soil, faith grows strong, confidence becomes steady. The inner voice of truth grows louder than the whispers of fear, and as this inner strength expands, life begins to reflect it, for the outer world always mirrors the convictions of the inner world. Life's seeming setbacks are stepping stones in disguise. What appears as a detour, a loss, or a failure is often the very force that shapes a greater destiny. The outer world may label an event as misfortune, yet within that event lies the seed of advancement. To the eye that sees only appearances, setbacks feel like obstacles. But to the heart that trusts divine order, every setback conceals a hidden gift, a lesson, or an opportunity for growth that could not have come in any other way. When one encounters a setback, the first impulse is often resistance. The mind asks, "Why did this happen?" or "What have I lost?" Yet resistance blinds us to the hidden good. The truth is that life arranges itself with perfect wisdom. What seems like a closed door may be a redirection to a better one. What looks like loss may clear the way for gain that far surpasses the original desire. And what feels like delay may simply be preparation, ensuring that when the right moment arrives, one is fully ready to step into it. Setbacks train the soul. They refine patience, strengthen resilience, and deepen faith. Without them, one might remain shallow, untested, and unprepared for greater victories. Every challenge has within it the power to elevate. Just as a seed must press through the dark soil before it touches the sunlight, the spirit must sometimes press through temporary difficulty before it rises into its fullest strength. What feels like a setback is often the soil pressing upon the seed, urging it upward toward the light. When setbacks arrive, it is easy to believe that life has gone off course. Yet the greater truth is that life is always on course, even when it does not appear so. Divine order is never broken. The seeming backward step is often a hidden forward leap. Many who now stand in positions of success can trace their turning point not to moments of ease, but to moments of disappointment that forced them to grow, change, or choose differently. What once seemed like failure later revealed itself as the exact event that shaped their triumph. Setbacks also purify intention. They strip away what is unnecessary and bring focus to what is essential. A lost opportunity may force one to question, what do I truly want? What am I truly called to do? In that questioning, clarity emerges, and with clarity comes renewed strength and direction. The setback becomes a stepping stone, elevating the soul to higher vision and deeper resolve. The one who understands this truth no longer fears setbacks. They see beyond appearances. They do not crumble under temporary disappointments, for they know that every seeming loss conceals a hidden gain. Instead of despairing, they declare, "This too is for my good. This too is a stepping stone." And in that declaration, they transform the energy of the moment, aligning themselves with the hidden blessing that is waiting to emerge. To embrace setbacks as stepping stones is to walk in faith. It is to recognize that the universe does not withhold, but redirects. It is to trust that every closed door protects as much as it guides. And it is to believe that even in the darkest hour, light is being prepared. This perspective builds unshakable confidence, for the soul knows that nothing can truly oppose its destiny. Everything that happens is part of the unfolding path, and each step, whether smooth or rough, leads upward. Setbacks are never the end, they are thresholds. They are the places where old patterns dissolve and new strength is born. They are not meant to defeat but to elevate, not to diminish but to transform. When one learns to see them as stepping stones, life becomes less a struggle and more a journey of trust, where even the rough stones beneath the feet are recognized as part of the way to higher ground. The world mirrors the confidence you hold within. Every thought, every belief, every word spoken from the secret chamber of the soul reflects itself outward in circumstances and experiences. Life is not a random series of events, but a living mirror, faithfully echoing the inner state. When one is filled with fear, doubt, or insecurity, the mirror reflects confusion, resistance, and difficulty. When one is rooted in confidence, assurance, and trust in divine order, the mirror returns opportunities, harmony, and doors that open with ease. Confidence is not merely an outward show, it is an inward posture. True confidence springs not from appearances or possessions, but from the deep awareness that one is aligned with the infinite. This kind of confidence is calm, steady, and unshaken by shifting conditions. It radiates a quiet authority that commands respect and invites cooperation. When this confidence is held within, the world naturally reflects it back in the form of supportive people, timely opportunities, and circumstances that align to uplift rather than oppose. Many seek to change the outer world without addressing the inner mirror. They strive to rearrange circumstances while still carrying doubt and fear within. Yet the outer world cannot outshine the inner conviction. If the inner mirror is clouded with worry, the outer world will show shadows. But when the inner mirror shines with the clarity of confidence, the outer reflection transforms. It is not the world that dictates one's reality. It is the inner assurance that shapes the world's response. Confidence held within acts as a magnetic force. It draws to itself experiences that confirm and strengthen it. Just as a person who believes in lack continually meets lack, the one who believes in abundance continually meets provision. The one who walks with self-belief finds that doors open, while the one who doubts themselves finds those doors closed. The difference lies not in fate, but in the reflection of the inner state. The world has no choice but to mirror what is impressed upon it by the power of belief. This truth empowers the soul. It reveals that one is never at the mercy of external conditions, but always shaping them from within. Confidence is the language the universe understands. It is a declaration of faith that says, I am guided, I am supported, I am capable, I am aligned. And the world, like a faithful servant, echoes back the declaration with circumstances that affirm it. Even in times of challenge, confidence within reshapes the reflection. A person who faces obstacles with fear will see those obstacles grow larger, more threatening, and more difficult. But the one who meets the same obstacle with confidence in divine guidance will see it shift, soften, and reveal hidden solutions. The obstacle itself may remain, but the way through it becomes clear, because the inner state has already declared victory. Confidence is not arrogance, nor is it pride. It is simply alignment with truth. It is knowing that the infinite expresses itself through the individual, and therefore nothing essential can be lacking. From this knowing springs a natural assurance that colors every thought and action, and this assurance paints the mirror of the world with beauty, order, and harmony. To hold confidence within is to become a lighthouse. The beam shines outward, and the seas reflect its light. The storms may rage, but the reflection of light remains steady. So, too, the world reflects the steady confidence of the soul that trusts, believes, and stands firm. The more one cultivates this confidence, the clearer and brighter the mirror of life becomes, until even the most ordinary moments reflect extraordinary grace. To cultivate unshakable belief, affirm the good before it is visible. Faith does not wait for evidence. It speaks into the unseen and knows that what is declared with conviction must take form. The outer world often lags behind the inner decree, but the soul that understands truth does not waver. It affirms good even when appearances contradict it. It proclaims abundance in the face of lack, health in the presence of weakness, harmony in the midst of discord. This steadfast declaration plants seeds in the invisible, and those seeds must break forth into visible expression. The natural mind is trained to believe only what it sees. It looks at appearances and concludes that they are final. Yet appearances are only temporary reflections, subject to change at any moment. They are not the ultimate reality, but the echo of past thoughts and beliefs. To cling to appearances is to live in bondage to yesterday's reflections. To affirm the good before it is visible is to step into freedom, for it declares that the unseen realm of spirit is greater than the shifting shadows of the material world. When one affirms the good, they align themselves with divine law. Every word spoken with conviction carries creative power. Words are not empty sounds, they are forces that shape substance. To affirm, all is well, I am guided, I am provided for, is to speak life into being. Even if the evidence is not yet visible, the declaration is a seed that must eventually manifest. The soil does not resist the seed, but nourishes it, and time does not deny the harvest, but ensures its perfect unfolding. Unshakable belief is cultivated in the space between affirmation and manifestation. It is in that waiting that faith is strengthened. The outer world may whisper, "It is not working," but the soul replies, "It is already done." The unseen good is already established in spirit, and the affirmation is the bridge that brings it into form. To hold fast to this truth, even when appearances seem dark, is to walk by faith and not by sight. The one who affirms the good before it is visible lives in victory. They are not swayed by temporary conditions, nor do they crumble under delays. They carry within themselves the assurance that every word of truth declared must be fulfilled. This assurance radiates calmness, strength, and authority. It is not forced or anxious, but serene and certain. Such a person becomes a living magnet for harmony, abundance, and opportunity because they have already affirmed these things into being. Affirmation also transforms the inner atmosphere. Each time the good is declared, fear loses its grip and doubt dissolves. The mind becomes trained to expect blessings, the heart becomes open to receive, and the spirit grows steadfast. This inner transformation is itself a sign of manifestation, for the outer world must eventually mirror the inner state. To affirm the good is not only to call forth new circumstances, but to cultivate the consciousness that naturally attracts them. Every great accomplishment begins as an unseen vision affirmed into reality. The seed of belief comes first, the harvest follows. Those who wait for proof before they believe remain trapped in uncertainty, but those who affirm the good before it is visible walk in freedom. They understand that their word, aligned with divine truth, carries creative authority. And so they speak boldly, affirming light in darkness, order in chaos, and fulfillment in delay. The power of affirmation is the power of creation. It takes the unseen and makes it seen. It transforms shadows into substance and longing into fulfillment. To cultivate unshakable belief is to make a habit of affirming the good, not only when evidence supports it, but especially when it does not. For it is in those moments that faith is most alive, and it is through that living faith that the invisible good becomes visible in perfect time. Your inner certainty commands the outer world to align. The universe listens not to hesitation, but to the unwavering conviction that springs from the soul. When the heart is settled, when the mind is firm, and when the spirit is rooted in divine assurance, the outer world must reflect that inner command. Life is a mirror that responds faithfully to the strongest impression it receives. If uncertainty rules within, confusion appears without. If certainty reigns within, harmony and order unfold in the outer scene. Certainty is not a stubborn insistence of the ego, but the quiet power of truth acknowledged. It is the calm knowing that divine law governs all things, and nothing essential can be withheld from the one who is aligned with it. This certainty is not dependent on appearances or conditions. It is born from the realization that spirit is the true source of supply, guidance, and fulfillment. From this realization arises an inner command that has authority over circumstances, for circumstances are but shadows shaped by belief. The outer world is like clay, easily molded by the hands of certainty. Doubt leaves the clay unshaped, wavering and unsettled. Fear hardens the clay, making progress difficult. But certainty shapes it with ease, pressing the impression of faith so deeply that the form must emerge. Every great achievement, every breakthrough, every victory has been born from an inner certainty that refused to be swayed by appearances. The world may resist for a time, but it cannot deny the authority of one who knows within that the outcome is already secured. This inner certainty is a command because it carries the vibration of alignment. When you are certain within, your actions flow with confidence, your words carry weight, and your presence inspires trust. Opportunities gravitate toward you because you are already aligned with them in consciousness. People respond with cooperation because they sense the authority of your conviction. Circumstances shift to support you because the outer world has no choice but to obey the decree of your inner certainty. Consider how often life has mirrored doubt. When hesitation filled the heart, doors seemed to close, confusion appeared, and progress slowed. Yet when you knew without wavering that something was possible, paths cleared, answers arose, and provision appeared. This is no coincidence. The world bends to the strongest belief held within. What you are certain of becomes your reality, and what you waver about remains unstable. To cultivate this inner certainty, one must practice the discipline of alignment. It is choosing each day to silence the voice of fear and replace it with the voice of truth. It is speaking words of faith until they sink deep into the heart and become immovable. It is remembering that divine power is never absent, and therefore there is no reason to doubt. Certainty grows as one chooses to stand firm in trust, even when appearances challenge that trust. The outer storm may rage, but the inner command remains still, and the storm must eventually yield to that stillness. Your inner certainty is not only for your own life, but becomes a beacon for others. Those who waver look to you and find strength in your steadiness. Those who doubt find comfort in your assurance. Your certainty becomes a command not just for your world, but for the atmosphere around you. It creates order where there was chaos, peace where there was unrest, and light where there was shadow. To live with inner certainty is to live as a co-creator with the divine. It is to know that your inner decree has power and that the outer world must reflect the truth you hold. Nothing can resist the authority of certainty, for it is rooted in eternal law. And so, when you choose to stand unwavering within, the outer world cannot help but align itself in obedience to the command you silently issue through your faith and conviction. In divine timing, everything unfolds perfectly, removing the need for fear. Fear is born from the belief that things are out of order, that life is slipping away, or that opportunities may be missed. Yet divine order is never late, never early, and never mistaken. What belongs to you cannot be taken, delayed, or withheld, for Spirit governs all with precision beyond human calculation. When this truth is embraced, fear loses its grip, and the heart rests in quiet assurance. Every season in life carries its appointed purpose. The seed does not rush to sprout before its time. It remains hidden in the soil until the perfect moment of emergence. The flower does not bloom in winter, but waits for the warmth of spring. The river does not question when it will reach the sea, for it flows with confidence, knowing that its destiny is certain. So it is with the soul that trusts divine timing. It moves forward with calm expectation, free from the strain of forcing outcomes or the anxiety of delays. Fear thrives on the illusion of lack and limitation. It whispers that something essential may be missed if it does not happen now, or that the delay means the blessing has passed. Yet every delay is but a preparation, every seeming detour a refinement. The divine arranges circumstances with wisdom far greater than the mind can comprehend. What appears as a pause is often protection. What seems withheld is being perfected. What feels like loss is preparing the way for gain. Fear dissolves in the light of this realization, for one understands that all things are conspiring for the highest good. To live in alignment with divine timing is to release the restless need to control outcomes. It is to rest in the assurance that life is orchestrated with flawless harmony. The mind may create deadlines, but the spirit knows no haste, only perfection. When one trusts this order, impatience transforms into patience, anxiety turns into serenity, and striving gives way to surrender. This surrender is not weakness, but strength, for it acknowledges the greater wisdom of the unseen plan. Consider the many moments in life when things seemed delayed, yet when they arrived, they were far greater than what was originally sought. The closed door that caused grief became the protection that guided you to a better path. The opportunity that did not appear when expected arrived later with multiplied blessings. The relationship that seemed to slip away made room for one that was more aligned. These are the evidences of divine timing at work, proving that the universe is never chaotic but always perfectly ordered. Living with trust in divine timing creates a profound sense of peace. One does not need to chase or grasp anxiously, for they know what is theirs will come in due season. One does not fear loss, for the eternal cannot be taken away. One does not fear delay, for delay is only an illusion in the presence of eternal order. This peace radiates outward, influencing every word, action, and decision, making one a vessel of calm assurance in a world ruled by hurry and fear. Affirming divine timing daily strengthens faith. To declare, "Everything in my life unfolds at the right time and in the right way," creates a vibration of trust that attracts harmony. The words spoken with conviction settle the heart and remind the mind that no force can disrupt the perfect flow of spirit. With each affirmation, fear diminishes and confidence grows, for the soul begins to live from the awareness that perfection is already present, waiting only for its appointed moment to be revealed. In divine timing, everything aligns. The seen and unseen dance together in harmony, and the path becomes clear step by step. The soul no longer fears the unknown, for the unknown is simply the realm of divine preparation. Fear is unnecessary, for all that is meant will arrive, all that is destined will unfold, and all that is aligned will manifest in perfect sequence under the law of spirit. A shifting world cannot topple a soul rooted in eternal truth. The world is in constant motion. Empires rise and fall, markets shift, relationships evolve, and circumstances turn like the seasons. Yet beneath this ever-changing surface lies a foundation that does not move. The one who anchors themselves in eternal truth stands steady while others are tossed by the winds of uncertainty. They are like a tree planted by living waters, unshaken by drought or storm, because their roots go deeper than the soil of appearances. Change is the nature of the visible world. It is fleeting, temporary, and unstable. To rely solely on external conditions is to build upon shifting sands. Wealth may fade, opportunities may transform, and people may come and go. But truth remains. Truth is not altered by opinion, nor weakened by circumstance, nor diminished by time. It is eternal law, unbroken and unbreakable, governing the universe with precision and order. The soul that grasps this truth and clings to it with certainty discovers a peace that no outward event can disturb. Fear often arises from watching the instability of the world and believing it has power over one's destiny. Yet fear dissolves when one realizes that destiny is not dictated by the outer, but by alignment with the inner. The world may roar with change, but the soul rooted in truth hears a deeper silence beneath the noise. That silence is the voice of spirit, steady and unwavering, reminding us that we are upheld by something greater than appearances. Consider the storms of life that come suddenly and without warning, the loss of work, the end of a relationship, the collapse of what once seemed secure. To the one unrooted, such storms feel like destruction. But to the one anchored in eternal truth, these storms are only surface winds that cannot reach the depth of their foundation. They remain steady, knowing that what is eternal cannot be shaken. From this steadiness comes resilience, and from resilience comes victory. Truth is not swayed by trends or opinions. What is true today will be true 1,000 years from now, for truth is eternal law. When the soul embraces this, it ceases to chase the shifting tides of approval or success, and instead rests in the certainty of divine alignment. This rest gives birth to clarity, confidence, and power, for nothing is stronger than the one who knows their foundation cannot be moved. The world reflects instability because it is built on illusion. Appearances rise and fall like waves on the sea, but the sea itself, the depth beneath the waves, remains unshaken. The soul rooted in eternal truth lives from that depth. They are not swayed by the fear of loss, because they know what is real cannot be lost. They are not moved by delay, because they trust divine timing. They are not toppled by change, because truth does not change. This rootedness produces a presence that others recognize. People sense the strength of one who stands unshaken, and they are drawn to it, for it offers safety in a world of uncertainty. Just as a lighthouse stands unmoved by the crashing sea, guiding ships safely to shore, so does the soul rooted in truth shine steadily, guiding others through the storms of change. Their faith does not waver, and in their unwavering presence, others find courage. To cultivate this soul-rooted strength is to practice daily remembrance of what is eternal, affirming truth until it becomes more real than appearances, listening to the still voice of spirit more closely than to the noise of the world, choosing to rest in the assurance that no matter what changes, the foundation of truth remains. This practice anchors the heart so deeply that no upheaval can disturb its peace. The world will always shift, for it is the nature of the visible to change. But the soul, rooted in eternal truth, remains untouchable, immovable, unshaken. Like a mountain rising above passing clouds, it stands firm, enduring beyond the temporary, upheld by the eternal. The world may shift, but truth does not. Circumstances may rise and fall, yet the soul anchored in divine order remains unmoved. Fear dissolves when replaced with faith, and doubt vanishes when one stands firm upon eternal law. Self-belief, born not of arrogance but of alignment with the infinite source, becomes the key to triumph in every challenge. Every delay, every setback, and every storm is but a stepping stone, guiding the soul deeper into trust and higher into strength. Words spoken with conviction shape reality, and inner certainty commands the outer world to align. In divine timing, all unfolds perfectly, leaving no room for fear. The world itself mirrors the confidence held within, and when faith is chosen over sight, success flows without struggle. To live this truth is to walk in quiet power, unshaken, unhurried, and unafraid. The shifting world cannot topple the one who knows that their foundation rests upon what is eternal. Such a soul becomes a living testimony of resilience, a lighthouse to others, and a vessel through which the infinite flows with ease. In the end, the call is simple. Trust the order beyond appearances, surrender worry for divine assurance, and affirm the good before it is seen. For when the soul is rooted in eternal truth, no storm can undo it, no delay can deny it, and no fear can diminish it. This is the unshakable self-belief that transforms lives and shapes worlds.